EP02, The Forged Memo. Canal, Case Files Karma, English US. 17 minutes at 150 WPM. Reformulated 100% from r/pro revenge. A lawyer's pro-revenge on his boss. By you/called in the 90s. Voice style, grave masculine, calm with dramatic beats, Mr. Nightmare/Perry Mason. Midnight, cold open, the memo. 3 days before New Year's Eve, I left a single piece of paper on a desk in an empty office. I made sure the formatting was perfect. I made sure the letterhead was wrong by exactly one detail, and I made sure the only person who would notice that detail was already on a plane to Aspen. What happened next took 3 months to set up. The whole thing cost me about 4 hours of real work. The partner, when he finally read the memo, screamed loud enough that the secretary on the 16th floor heard it. The senior associate, the one I had been working for, the one who had been stealing my work for 9 straight months, was told to pack his office by Monday. He did not, technically, get fired. He got something worse. Cut, junior lawyer silhouetted at cubicle, single desk lamp, modern glass office at night, city lights behind. This is Case Files Karma. And this is episode 2, The Forged Memo. The story of Victor Castellan, Yale Law, family money, perfect shoes, and the 8 months he spent destroying the career of a junior associate who was smarter than him, better than him, and patient enough to wait for the moment Victor would destroy himself. 1:30 ACT1, The Mentor. My name is Marcus Webb. 6 months earlier, I was 29, 2 years out of law school, and proud to be a first-year associate at Sterling, Holt & Vance. It is, depending on which ranking you read, somewhere between the 35th and the 42nd most prestigious litigation firm in the country. It bills its clients by the 10th of an hour. It has never lost a case it was paid to win. And it had just assigned me to a senior associate named Victor Castellan. Cut, modern law firm exterior, glass and steel, Midtown Financial District. I was told that Victor was on the partner track. I was told he was a rising star. I was told, by a managing partner I had not yet met, that working for him would be the single best move of my career. The first thing Victor did, on the morning we met, was take the coffee I had brought for both of us and drink both cups. I laughed. He did not. Cut, senior associate in bespoke suit, gold cufflinks, walking into glass-walled office. He was 33. He had been a lawyer for 3 years. He came from a family that donated money to the firm, enough money that nobody asked him to be good at his job, only to be visible in the office at the right times. His shoes were always perfect. His suits were tailored. He wore a gold watch and a tie pin and cufflinks that matched. I was wearing a suit I had bought off the rack for my bar exam. I was not on the partner track. I was, in fact, on the path to nowhere. My docket numbers, the billable hours I recorded each month, were short. My memos were getting rewritten. And I could not, for the life of me, figure out why I was so far behind my peers. Victor told me, on day 3, that I would need to work harder. Cut, junior associate at cluttered desk, piles of legal pads, fluorescent office lighting. 4 o'clock, ACT2, the pattern. Here is what I did not understand. For the first 3 months, I worked for Victor Castellan. Every memo I wrote went to him for review. He would mark it up. He would change a few words. He would then forward it to the partner on our case, with his own name on it, and a single line at the bottom. My work product on the matter, with input from J. Webb. J. Webb. Not Marcus. Not Webb. Not even a courtesy email telling me he had submitted my work. Cut. Split screen. Left side unsigned memo, right side same memo with stolen name at top. The first time I noticed, I assumed it was a mistake. I walked into his office and said, "Hey, did you mean to take my name off the memo you sent to Klein?" He did not look up from his phone. "I improved it," he said. "It would be misleading to suggest you wrote the final version." I improved it, as if the work were his, and he had simply made it better. I went to Margaret Klein. Margaret, Peggy, to the people who had been at the firm for more than a decade, was the managing partner of our practice group. She was 58. She did not use email. She used paper. She used fountain pens. She used the firm's original 1987 letterhead on every external document, even though we had been told to switch to the 2014 template 6 times. She listened to me. She nodded. She said, "You will have to work harder or smarter. The two of you will figure it out." She did not ask me to show her the memos. She did not ask me to show her the docket log. She did not ask me to show her anything at all. Cut. Managing partner at mahogany desk, hand on fountain pen, 1987 letterhead visible on document. I went back to my cubicle. I worked harder. I worked 6 days a week, like every other junior associate at the firm. I went home at 11. I went back in at 7. I billed the time. I watched my numbers climb. I watched my numbers disappear. It took me a while to figure out that part. I noticed in month 4 that my docket numbers were short. I had billed 190 hours in the month. The associate next to me had billed 192. But the system showed me at 168. 40 hours, more than a full work week, had been deleted. I checked the access log. The deletions had been made from Victor's office. At 11 p.m. on a Saturday, which was the only time Victor ever stayed late, because it was the only time nobody else was around to see what he was doing. Cut. Close-up of computer screen, hand deleting entries from a billing spreadsheet. I went back to Peggy. I told her what I had found. She gave me the same answer. "You will have to work harder or smarter." I did not have anyone else to tell. The senior partner above Peggy was on sabbatical. The firm's general counsel was a friend of Victor's family. The ethics hotline went to a voicemail box that, I would later learn, was checked once a quarter, and then only for the messages that started with the word lawsuit. So I went back to my cubicle. I worked harder. I worked smarter. And I started keeping copies of everything. Cut. Junior lawyer at cubicle at midnight, single desk lamp, scanning documents to a personal drive. 8 o'clock, ACT3, the breaking point. The night Victor crossed a line he could not uncross was a Wednesday in October. I had spent 2 weeks writing a 40-page brief on a regulatory compliance issue for a cross-border acquisition we were handling, a Taiwanese client, a U.S. target, a deal that had been delayed twice and was now 2 days from signing. The brief was, by any honest measure, the best thing I had ever written. I had read every relevant regulation. I had cited 6 law review articles. I had built a chronology. I had anticipated the 4 most likely objections from the opposing counsel, and I had answered them. I sent it to Victor at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday with a single line, "Ready for your review." He replied at 6:14 a.m. on Wednesday with 11 words. "Got it. We'll turn around today." I assumed he meant he would review it today. I assumed he would send me his edits. I assumed that the 40 pages of analysis I had just spent 2 weeks writing would, at some point, make it to the partner on the case. It did not. The brief went out that night, under Victor's name, with no edits, no attribution, and a cover note to the client. Pleased to share my analysis of the regulatory issues on the matter. Available to discuss at your convenience. He had not even changed the font. Cut. Senior associate at desk, copying a junior's brief into his own document. I found out about it on Thursday, when the client emailed Peggy directly to thank her team for Mr. Castellan's excellent work on the regulatory brief. Peggy forwarded the email to Victor with a single line. Nicely done. Victor forwarded the email to me with a single line. Thanks for the assist. The assist. I went home that night. I did not eat. I sat at my kitchen table and I read through the firm's employee handbook, cover to cover, looking for the section on intellectual property. The handbook said that all work product created by an associate in the course of their employment was the property of the firm. It did not say whose name went on it. It did not say what to do if a senior associate decided, unilaterally, that the work was his. The handbook said I should report concerns to my supervising partner. My supervising partner was Victor. I called my mother. I did not tell her what had happened. I told her I was tired. She told me, "You are smarter than they are. You have always been smarter than they are. One day they are going to figure it out." I hung up the phone. I sat at my kitchen table for another hour. And then I started planning. Cut, junior lawyer at home, late night, single lamp, legal documents spread on kitchen table, planning. 12 o'clock, ACT 4, the trap. The plan was simple. The plan required three things to be true at the same moment. First, the managing partner, Peggy, had to be out of the office. I knew she was taking the week between Christmas and New Year's off. She always did. She had a place in Aspen, and she always spent that week skiing with people I had never met and never would. Second, Victor had to be in the office. He always was, the week between Christmas and New Year's. He had nowhere to go. His family lived in Connecticut. He did not like them. He preferred to be seen by the cleaning crew and the security guards working late. Third, I had to have a piece of work ready to give him that I had already done somewhere in some form that I could redeliver as if it were new. I had the third piece. I had spent the second year of law school writing a 50-page paper on regulatory compliance in cross-border M&A. The paper had gotten me an A. The paper was, in retrospect, the foundation of half the work I had been doing at the firm for the past 6 months. I still had the file. I had saved it to a personal drive because I had been afraid, even then, that someone would take it. Cut, junior lawyer opening a folder on a personal laptop, old law school paper visible on screen. The week Peggy left for Aspen, I went into the office on December 28th. I waited until 9 p.m., when the cleaning crew was on the 14th floor and the security guard had made his second round. I went into Victor's office. I put a single piece of paper on his desk. The paper was on the firm's 1987 letterhead. I had bought a ream of it on eBay the previous month. The paper had Peggy's name in the bottom corner, as if she had written it. The content was a memo to Victor, instructing him to have his junior associate prepare, by the second week of January, a deep analysis of regulatory compliance in international acquisition contracts, with specific reference to the relevant Treasury Department and Federal Reserve guidelines, and a request for a 30,000-word analysis. The memo was, in other words, impossible. Cut. Forged memo on 1987 letterhead, Peggy's name in corner, formal legal language. I knew Victor would not check with Peggy. Peggy was in Aspen. The memo was in her voice. The topic was in the wheelhouse of the kind of work we were already doing. And This was the part one had been waiting for. The deadline was tight enough that he could not delegate it to anyone but me. I went home. I slept. On December 29th, Victor walked into my cubicle at 9:14 a.m. He was carrying a piece of paper. He handed it to me. He said, "I need this by January 5th. It's urgent." Peggy's asking. "Don't tell anyone, but if you do a good job, she's going to notice." I looked at the paper. It was the memo I had forged. Victor's secretary had retyped it, so the assignment was now from him to me. The text was exactly what I had written, with a few small changes that did not change the meaning. I looked at Victor. I said, "This is a huge assignment. I was going to be away for New Year's. Can't you get someone else to do it? Is it really urgent?" He turned his back to me and walked away. He did not say another word. Cut. Senior associate in suit, handing a memo to a junior in a cubicle, dismissive expression. I went back to my cubicle. I opened the file. I found my old law school paper. I read it through. I updated the citations. I added 12,000 words of new analysis. I formatted it in the firm's house style. I printed it out. I billed 104 hours to the project. I sent the memo to Victor on the morning of January 3rd, 2 days before the deadline, with a single line. "Ready for your review." I went home. I slept. I went back to the office on January 6th. I sat in my cubicle. I waited. Cut. Junior lawyer waiting at cubicle, anxious expression, looking toward senior associate's office. 1430, ACT 5, the Karma. Victor walked past my cubicle at 8:47 a.m. on January 6th. He was wearing one of his bespoke suits. He was wearing the gold cufflinks. He was carrying the memo, the one I had given him, in his hand. He said, "I'm taking this into a meeting at 9. Peggy's back." He did not say thank you. He did not ask me to come. He walked past me like I was furniture. I did not get up from my chair. I did not say a word. I opened a new tab. I started working on a different matter. I waited. At 9:23 a.m., I heard a voice from down the hall. The voice was loud. The voice was Peggy's. I heard her say, "What in the name of God is this?" I heard a door open. I heard footsteps. I heard a voice, not Peggy's, say something I could not make out. I heard Peggy say, "Get Marcus. Get him in here. Now!" I stood up. I walked down the hall. I tried to look as confused as I could. Cut. Managing partner in office doorway, holding a stack of papers, furious expression, junior walking toward her. Peggy was standing in the doorway of her office. She was holding the memo. She was holding it at arm's length, as if it had made her hands dirty. "Marcus, did you write this?" I took the memo from her. I read the first page. I read the second page. I read the third page. "I wrote it," I said. "I wrote all of it. The cover page has been changed to remove my name, but other than that, it's mine. I spent the week between Christmas and New Year's on it. Is there something wrong with it?" Peggy turned to Victor, who was standing behind her. He was white. "Is there something wrong with it?" Peggy said, to Victor, not to me. "Would you like to tell me what is wrong with 104 hours of a junior associate's time spent on a research project that I never assigned?" Cut. Managing partner pointing at the memo, senior associate pale in the background, junior looking confused. Victor did not say anything. Peggy turned back to me. She said, "Get out." I got out. I went back to my cubicle. I sat down. I waited. Over the next 3 days, I learned, through the lawyer's grapevine, which is faster and more accurate than any court filing, what had happened. Victor had taken the memo into a partner meeting at 9 o'clock. He had presented it, in his own voice, as his analysis. Peggy had been back from Aspen for less than 48 hours. She had not written the memo. She had never heard of the memo. She had been trying, for the first 20 minutes of the meeting, to figure out which of her existing assignments Victor was talking about. When she realized what had happened, she lost her mind. She spent 45 minutes screaming at Victor in her office. The screaming was audible on the 14th floor. The cleaning crew heard it. The security guard heard it. The receptionist on the 17th floor heard it. Victor was not fired. Peggy could not fire him. His family was too important to the firm. But Victor was, in the language of the partnership, asked to take a few weeks off. He was asked to undergo mentorship training. He was asked to reflect on his professional conduct. Cut. Senior associate being escorted out of glass office by a managing partner, looking defeated. And me? I was promoted to a different practice group. I was given a new supervising partner. I was given a $5,000 end-of-year bonus, with a note from Peggy that said, "For the additional time you spent on the Castellan matter." I was told, by the new supervising partner, on my first day in the new group, that I should send him a copy of every memo I wrote, going forward. I did. Victor came back from his few weeks off 3 months later. He did not apologize to me. He did not speak to me for the rest of my time at the firm. He took credit for one more of my memos in April and was told, in writing, that the practice had to stop. He made partner the following year. He made partner because of his family. He would have made partner even if he had been caught stealing from the petty cash drawer. He never did figure out what had actually happened. But I did. Cut. Junior lawyer at window, modern office, city skyline behind, slight smile on his face. 1630, outro. I left Sterling, Holt and Vance 2 years after the forged memo incident. I went to a litigation boutique that paid me 60% more. I never heard from Victor again. I still have the file with the 1987 letterhead. I keep it in a box in my closet. I have not opened it in years. But every once in a while, when I am at a deposition and the opposing counsel tries to claim credit for a piece of work that one of his associates clearly wrote, I think about Victor Castellan. I think about the gold cufflinks. I think about the meeting at 9 a.m. on January 6th. I think about the sound of Peggy's voice asking, "Would you like to tell me what is wrong with 104 hours of a junior associate's time?" And I smile. If you have a story of karma, of someone who did the right thing and watched the wrong person get what was coming to them, send it to us. We read every submission. Some of them become episodes. This has been Case Files Karma. We'll see you next week. Cut. Case Files Karma logo on dark background, then subscribe animation.